going to be talking about the Junko Furuta case. This case is extremely disturbing, and as a young woman, when I read this story, I felt very disturbed and scared to do anything outside of my apartment just because the world is crazy, and if you're vulnerable to anybody at any time, they could easily take advantage of that. I'm an extremely nice person, so it makes me not want to be nice. But yeah, let's get into the case. So Junko was a high school student at Yoshio Minami High School, and she was very beautiful, but she wasn't like every other student. She wouldn't smoke, she wouldn't drink, and she stayed to herself. There was another high school student named Hiroshi Miyano. He was a bully to a lot of people, but he was in the Yakuza gang in Japan, so no one ever did anything or said anything about him because they feared for their lives. Hiroshi found Junko very attractive and wanted to date her, but she politely said that she did not want to date him, and that triggered him. It's very scary to me that simply telling someone that you don't want to date them can cost you your life. My heart goes out to Junko and her family and what they had to go through. On November 25th, 1988, Hiroshi and Nobuharu decided that they were going to go through with their plan and kidnap Junko on her way home from work. Hiroshi demanded Nobuharu to kick her off of her bike so that he could act like he was the hero and tell her that he would walk her home so that she could go home safe. It's very scary to me that Hiroshi acted like he was some hero and that he was going to come save her and walk her home. And I'm pretty sure it really made her feel safe and so much better in the moment. But if only she knew what was going to happen later on. It's crazy. After Hiroshi told her that he was going to walk her home, he ended up walking her to an empty warehouse where he raped her and repeatedly screamed at her and told her that he had connections to the Yakuza gang and told her that he was going to kill her and then continued to rape her. After doing all of that, he then took her to a hotel and raped her again until 3 a.m. when he took her to a park to meet with Minato and Watanabe. While they were at the park, they all told her that they were going to kill her family if she ever tried to escape from them because they knew where she lived. They knew where she lived because in her backpack she had a note with her address on it. So fearful for her family's life, she decided that she was not going to do anything and that she was going to comply with everything that they said. After this, they took her to Minato's parents' house, where they repeatedly raped her and put her through torture. The torture lasted for 44 days. They forced her to call her parents and tell them that everything was okay and that she just simply ran away. And this didn't help because no one was searching for her. I have a list of everything that they did to her. I'm going to read them to you, so if you're very sensitive to this kind of content, I would suggest not watching this part of the video. They kept her naked most of the time that she was there. Junko was raped every day, both vaginally and anally. For the whole course of the 44 days, she was raped by over 500 people. She was raped by mostly Yakuza members, the Japanese gang, as well as friends and other people that they knew. And on one certain day, she was raped by 12 men in the same day. They would beat her with golf clubs, they would bash her face against cement floors, they would urinate on her before and after raping her. In order to turn on her rapist, she was forced to masturbate in front of them and their guests. She had various objects forced inside of her, including a bottle, an iron bar, scissors, roasting needles, grilled chicken skewers, etc. She was provided with only limited food and water, and she was forced to eat live cockroaches and drink her own urine. She had fireworks forced inside of her, and they set them off, causing serious burns. She had her left nipple ripped off with pliers. She had dumbbells dropped on her stomach while she laid on the floor and her feet tied up. She was hung from the ceiling and used as a boxing bag. She was kept in a freezer for several hours. She had her eyelids burned with hot wax. They put candles on her eyelids and lit them on fire, and then they fell into her eyelids. She had her clitoris burnt with cigarettes and lighters. She had a hot light bulb forced inside of her, and they rubbed it until it exploded. At one point, she did try and contact the police, but they caught her and they ended up beating her even worse, and they poured lighter fluid on her and burned her. Her legs were so badly bruised and burned that she was not able to walk at all. They smashed her hands so severely that she wasn't able to pick anything up or grab anything. There's so many other bad things that happened to Junko and things that they did that I don't want to talk about just because it is extremely disturbing. The sad thing is that the parents of these boys knew that this was happening to her. They tried forcing her to say that that was their girlfriend, but they saw all the cuts and bruises and burns that she had and still didn't say anything because they were scared of them because they had connections to the Yakuza gang, so they never did anything. During the winter, they forced her to sleep on the balcony when it was super cold, and of course she wasn't able to walk, so she couldn't go over the balcony, and this was a big house, so even if she did, she would have hurt herself even more. One day they wanted to play solitaire with her, and when she won, they beat her even more. They beat her with an iron barbell and set her on fire even more. After all of this, her body couldn't take any more of the beatings, and she went into shock and died that same day. They decided to put her body in a barrel and filled it up with cement and then dropped her off in Tokyo. The boys would have never been caught, but they accidentally confessed to something when they thought they were confessing to Junko's murder. They were actually confessing to another thing that they were tried for. So if they never confessed, no one ever would have known what actually happened to Junko. This story is extremely sad, and there's a ton of movies, books, mangas, all types of things about her on the internet. I find it very disturbing when people make movies about deaths, especially this severe tragedy that happened to Junko. Junko was only 16 when all of this happened. She was so young, and I can't imagine what she went through. My heart goes out to her family and her friends and her parents especially, because they were told everything was going to be okay and that she was fine, and then they found out that their daughter was put in cement and tortured. The boys only faced short sentences. I will put them all over the screen for each individual person. They actually had their name changed and no one knew who they were, but the person that was working on the case decided to leak the names. I had to switch to my phone real quick. I'm not sure if they ever changed their names again a second time. Either way, the case is horrific and they should have gotten more time. I believe that all of the men are now out of prison and living freely, which is very scary. I hope you got a lot of information from this video and that everybody stays safe, and please be aware of your surroundings and never trust people. You never know their true intentions, especially with everything going on in the world. People are going crazy right now. I'll be posting a lot more videos of me covering murder stories. Feel free to leave comments on ones that you would like to hear. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe and share it with someone.